Hello and welcome to Eye on the Tigers, a podcast all about National Ice Hockey League, but one that always has an eye on the Telford Tigers. Today, very pleased to welcome a special guest to the show. Jay, would you like to introduce yourself and the team that you support?
Yeah, Jay Vanels, so run the OnlyFans um, fan page for Peterborough Phantoms. Yeah, thank you for having me on. Pleasure to be
No,
here.
absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your time and for coming on to talk about all things Peterborough as we head into the new season. Just before we do get underway, love the name of that fan page as well. OnlyFans. I mean, if that's not the best in the league, I really want to see what is.
Well, we took a page over from another fan and we wanted to change it. And uh, there's three of us that run the page, and we all wrote a few things down. And I did actually write it down and thought, no, I'm not even going to suggest that. So we put it out to all the fans out there. And as soon as it came in, I said to Darren and Emma that were on the page, right, someone else has recommended it. We're having it, and yeah, we've got it. So yeah, we've adapted the OnlyFans logo and everything else. But yeah, it's yeah, some people have smiled from it anyway.
Yeah, certainly did make me smile when I first saw it, and yeah, so I took a quick look and noticed sort of like with I think you got sort of like half the Phantom eye in like
Yeah,
the O, was it? So yeah, some top design work on that one, I must say.
yeah,
Anyway, let's get down to Peterborough, as I'm sure we're not here
yeah.
just to talk about the fan page that you've got. Before we get onto this season, I thought we'd just rewind back and last season, so summarise last season, which I get the feeling is probably going to bring a smile to your face.
Yeah, it I felt we overachieved, to be honest,
Okay.
and I've had many a conversation on that, and happy to agree and disagree with people. But yeah, we kind of started off a bit flat, and we were struggling to hold on to second periods, and we lost some very silly games, and you get that grumble around the rink. Obviously, you always have your happy clapper section that won't see no wrong, but yeah, we had a few sort of rumblings, and then turned on the team and stuff like that. And it felt, oh, okay, and we really had to grind some results out, and it just felt like there was just something missing, like a click and a spark. And I got to be honest, I rather stupidly didn't bother with commentary. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Not spending money for that weekend, and kind of threw my toys out the pram, and then begrudgingly paid to watch it, and then it was like, oh my, what are we doing? And then obviously we got Leeds. Leeds always bottle it against us. And I remember texting down and ever going, Leeds are going to bottle it against us, and we've not gone. So yeah, no, great end. Really pleased for the lads. I did eat my hat on a couple of things, I've got to be honest, but no, that's it's nice to always lift a trophy, and especially for people like Will Weldon. His final season. He's been a good servant to the club. It was nice for Will to lift that trophy, and certainly for people like Paddy and that have retired or moved on. It was nice. So yeah, lovely fitting end, and it's always nice to beat Leeds, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll take your word on that one, I think. But yeah, no, a great send off for sort of Weldon there, and
Yeah,
I mean he's contributed plenty to Peterborough over the years, so that's definitely signing off in style, I think I would say.
yeah, definitely.
So wonderful end to last season. Now we're starting to think more about the upcoming season. I guess just before we get into the season, how do you think the off season has been for Peterborough in terms of? I mean, we'll probably talk about this in a bit more detail as we go through, but in terms of signings, communication from the club, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean the club's social media page is well run. They do communicate out to the fans. It's probably felt a bit flat signing wise, but actually when you sit and look at what we've got come in and out, we've made some signings.
Mhm.
I think we just need to see how those settle in. Fewer fresh names that nobody's heard of or quite yet seen. So we've all had to kind of jump onto YouTube and look at previous games and that. So yeah, it's probably been a lot busier than it actually has felt for some of the fans. Yeah, we've had the excitement of new jerseys and everything come in, and the director team have been busy getting sponsorships and that in. Some of them have been great sponsors. We've recently just had a really controversial sponsor they've just announced, which has divided some of the fans just literally last week.
Okay.
Uh, they've signed up with a basically a land company that
Right.
assisted with Peterborough Panthers Speedway being closed down after 52 years. So
Mm.
yeah, strange one from the club. Hasn't gone down very well, but yeah, obviously, in this game, money's probably money, isn't it? And it
Yeah,
keeps teams going. So, but yeah, no, they have a great social media team, very well communicated, and I think that's something they've got better with
mm.
is we've had little teasers on players and little guessing games and stuff. So yeah, they've tried to keep everybody engaged.
That sounds great. And you mentioned about the jerseys. So thoughts about the jerseys for this season? An improvement on last year's, or about the same, or not a big fan at the moment?
I think all we've gained is a white band on the blue one, like around the bottom, and we've gained a blue band on the white one. Um, so yeah, there wasn't much really. I mean, even my kids have kind of gone, "Oh, I'm not really bothered with it," which is great because it saves me money. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I was kind of hoping that we'd probably change it up a bit, but yeah, a bit flat. But throughout the season, I'm sure we'll have 30 different one-off jerseys for every single celebrated day that we have in the UK.
Might happen, it mightn't it? Anyway, I think we touched a little bit there upon sort of, I guess YouTube and new signings and players that you hadn't seen. Before we get to them, Peterborough, as I think a fair few teams have kept perhaps a core of players.
Yeah.
Do you think there's one or maybe two who are absolute key re-signings for this upcoming season?
Luke Ferreira, obviously, you've got points there. He was over 100, I think 106 or 108 last season, I think. Um, yeah, he's great. Local lads, well loved. The family name's loved as well, obviously throughout Peterborough. So really happy. I think his contract was secured anyway. I think he was on a 2 year anyway. So nice to see he hasn't been poached or left anyway.
Mhm.
Um, I always like to see Tom Norton come back. I have a soft spot for Tom. I think he's a good defenseman, and yeah, I like him. So I'm always glad when Tom re-signs. He just had his testimony, so I wasn't too sure whether he'd call it a day with Will. But yeah, no, nice to see Tom back. And then literally, I know it's going into a third, but we had announced, I think Monday, Big Dunk's coming back. Duncan
Yes.
Spires. Nice to see that, and hopefully he's recovered well from his injury. But yeah, me and my kids like Big Dunk, great player, and obviously brings a lot and adds some weight. So yeah, I'm pleased with them three. Obviously, everybody's got their fan favourite, but I just think for me those cover the areas that we needed to see back again.
Yeah, and certainly very glad that he's recovered and is able
Yeah,
to take his place in the roster this season. Wonder how long he had been signed for before that one was announced, perhaps as perhaps sort
yeah,
of that last sort of boost almost. So that's great that you've got some key returning players at Peterborough, but there have also been players out the door. Any you think they're going to be a real particular miss as sort of 2024, 2025 gets underway?
yeah. For me, and I think this is echoed throughout Phantoms is IBN Ivan Nordstrom. The gentle giant. He was great. He came in obviously last season. Um, massive lad. I think he's like 200 odd centimeters tall. He's got a bit of weight behind him as well, but yeah, could play with the puck, and I was really excited to see him and Ferreira link up. I thought that was going to be really exciting and going to be goals for us. So I was gutted to see that he'd gone to Sheffield,
Mm.
and yeah, I liked Mar as well. Jordan Mar's gone to Solway. Lovely lads, great netminder for me. I always felt more confident having Jordan in the sticks than our backups, and that's been for a few seasons. To be fair,
Yeah.
sometimes a scapegoat, but netties are, aren't they? When the results don't go your way. But no, lovely bloke off the ice as well. Lovely family. So he's going to be missed around Peterborough for me for sure. And I think that's a good game for Solway. That.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. They've got sort of one of the, well, you certainly say a netminder who's capable of sort of being in the top half of the league, you'd say there. So yeah, good signing for Solway, and of course Sheffield have made a good signing, and no doubt helped there with the sort of the link up they've now got in place with the Steelers, and perhaps that carrot, that offer of potential elite league hockey as well.
I hope he gets it. I really do. I hope he gets that chance, and Jamie releases him, when needed. Because it'd be a shame if he's just left to go to Sheffield and not get much, elite sort of play or experience. So yeah, good luck to the lads. But for me, that was a massive loss seeing him go.
Yeah, I did suspect that perhaps the two that you just named there were like to be sort of high up on that list in terms of sort of the big losses from last season.
And we lost the fans' favourite Paddy. He's gone to Nottingham Lions. Paddy's great. Everybody loves Paddy, but yeah, he just wasn't as sort of great hockey brain. I mean, you must have kept him on for that, really. But yeah, sad to see him go. He was definitely a fan favourite for sure. And every time that his shirt, which is great, he served the club very, very well.
Thank you. So we've taken a look at players that have come back. We've taken a look at players who've left. So yeah, now let's get on to sort of, I mean, you mentioned plenty about YouTube and sort of signings have come in to the club. So who do you think are going to be perhaps key signings that Slava's made?
Yeah, we've got a couple of young lads come in. We've signed a young Hungarian forward, Barnabas Sari or Sari. Yet to hear his name pronounced yet, but yeah, he's a young lad. And then we've got a Lithuanian lad as well, Lithuanian Brit, Nogus. So yeah, interesting to see those. Slava obviously knows of them and knows about them. I think that's a case of in Slava we trust with those. Yeah. Slav isn't going to bring anybody in that he doesn't know or like. And yeah, then obviously we was the first to move with our Canadian netminder as well, which caused a little bit of a ripple. So yeah, I think those are the ones we kind of all jumped on to have a look at. Yeah, it'd be nice to see them sort of settled in. But yeah, the young lads he's brought in just seem they'll add a bit of pace to the game. And again, it'd be nice to see them link up with Ferreira and can they feed Luke in and everything else and see how we go there.
Cool, sounds good. Yes, just mentioned it there. So Hayden Levine has come in as netminder, and yeah, it was the first announced actually across the league in terms of non-British trained netminders. I suppose, I know Bees kind of went down that route and then sort of backed out, perhaps, or there were some difficulties last year, but this one's obviously come through. Just wondering, sort of, obviously Mar, very big skates to fill. Just wondering, I guess, what your view is in terms of non-British trained netminders. I know it appears to be one that divides plenty of fans. Is it something you're kind of in favour of, or would you really prefer that at this level it was sort of British netminders throughout?
I get it. I do get it with British and home in the grassroots talent. I just think for us that what we had in terms of British and backup, they just weren't ready for the league, and that was no disrespect. They were young. He was a young lad, and yeah, maybe there just wasn't enough out there. But yeah, bold move. And again, obviously Slav has seen something there, and a bit of probably a statement piece from him. And I think it's one of the first signings he announced as well. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. So yeah, again, see how he goes. But like I said, big skates to fill. Yes, ideally, you'd always like to, as a British hockey fan as well, is to see grassroots and home talent come through. But I understand the reason why, and yeah, just the British back we had, and we haven't quite got anybody yet that we could probably bring through from Phantoms 2 or any of our reserves teams that are going to have that experience. And like you say, just match the boots of Jordan, really.
Yeah, and I think as well, particularly for for Peterborough, who, I mean, well, we saw what they did at the end of last season, and are one of the teams who realistically are probably thinking, yeah, we could get some silverware out of the upcoming season.
Yeah.
You're going to need a really strong, dependable netminder. So if perhaps sort of the experience isn't quite there in some of the British ones, then realistically, I think a lot of the sort of perhaps top British netminders in the league had already been signed up.
Yeah.
It probably limited the options actually at that point. So yeah, can sort of fully understand the reasoning behind going down that route. So 2 weeks out from pre-season, what are the hopes for the season?
I think the easy answer would be to say a trophy. That would always be nice, but for me, it would just be as long as we remain competitive. We through some very silly games last season. We in some games came out and had an amazing P1, and then in P2 we kind of just reversed the score and undone what we'd done, and then we always had a sort of it felt like a slog and a comeback in P3. So for me, it'd be nice just to get some consistency, and I can take a loss, as long as the guys have put up a fight and a battle, and you can come off and go, do you know what, the better team did win there. But for me, we just gave away some really silly points, and yeah, and obviously the new team, new players, see how it gels. But yeah, just as long as we've got a bit of a battle and a bit of a bit of a grit in our teeth, it would just be good to see. And we've proved that we can come from scraping into the playoffs to making the final. It's Peterborough are one of those teams, and we did it the year before in the cup as well. It's we can turn it on when we want to, but we make blooming hard work of it.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see how it goes. I mean, personally speaking, I think Peterborough are sort of nailed on for the playoffs, and as we know, anything could happen there. Don't think perhaps a run at the league is realistic. And again, perhaps going back to sort of what you just said there, the consistency. And in terms of the cup, well, the cup's the cup. Much like the playoffs, if you get a couple of good results, or you have a good game or a good weekend, then yeah, that silverware can be there. And I think for sort of outside looking in, Peterborough team who I could probably make a strong argument for, yeah, they could win the playoffs again, or they could go on and win a cup. So be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, the silverware would be great. But one thing that was interesting in that, he said, as long as we're competitive. So moving out perhaps now from Peterborough and thinking more league-wise in that kind of a sense, how competitive do you think the league is going to be this season?
I think it's going to be more competitive than last season. I think everybody, recruited well, and there's been some good movement in players. And I think every team has lost a player that they didn't want to lose. It feels like this year. So, yeah, having a look at it, and I was talking to the other admins of our page, and it's who do we sort of think? You're going to say Leeds and everybody else up there, but I think everybody's lost a player that they didn't want to lose, or a player that they felt could be a key player. So yeah, I think the Steel Dogs have recruited well. And you've got Disco's not coming back to MK. Is that
Yet.
Yeah, and will he end up at Leeds? It's that's down, isn't it? But yeah, Leeds have lost a couple, but they've got some in. It's Swindon have still got Bill in. I wish he'd come home. I miss him.
Of course.
So yeah, I think it is going to be competitive. Obviously, Solway have now got a great netminder. They've done well again as well. It's going to be, I think, more competitive than last season. I think once everybody gets going and settled.
Yeah, I'd definitely agree with that. I think, yeah, I mean, we've highlighted that Steel Dogs are recruited well. I think what Matty Davis has done up at Hull in terms of their recruitment is just amazing. So yeah, it's personally, yeah, it could end up as a 2-horse race in the league or something like that, but you kind of get the feeling it's going to be pretty tight up there. big question then: who goes on to win the league this year?
I'm I'm probably I'm liking, like we've just mentioned, Hull and Sheffield's recruitment, and I think if that sort of goes well, then yeah, I think they'll be up there. I can't see MK being up there this season, and I'm not just saying that because it's MK. I think for me, I've got Leeds, Sheffield, and probably Hull as the three that I can see fighting it out for the top three spaces.
Mm.
Uh, you know, and then hopefully we finish above MK in fourth, and everybody sort of settles out. But no, I literally was, as we spoke at the beginning of the week, sort of thing. I was looking through, league prospects and just how all the teams are coming up, and yeah, there's some great great movement, some great players. So, but it's one of those, isn't it? You can't count anybody out. I mean, look at Raiders. They had a massive surge towards the end of the season,
Yeah.
and they became, that they came hard for us to play, and they started off really poorly, and probably again you'd probably have them at the start to be one of the ones to drop for me, but they always seem to come back and grit the last part of the season. But yeah, to be honest, I'm sort of Leeds, Sheffield, and I am intrigued with Hull. I think they have recruited well.
Yeah. So yeah, the sort of back end of last season, I had Connor on as a guest. That was a Hull Seahawks fan, and also works on the podcast that they've got up there. From what he was saying, yes, it was their second year in the league, but kind of everything had been planned that last year was their first year, and then this year was the one that sort of they were really targeting some silverware for. So I think that's definitely been shown in the signings, and yeah, I personally I think they are going to be the ones who push Leeds. Sheffield, yes, they've recruited well, but I kind of feel perhaps they got a bit of ground to make up on after last season.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
And
they're relying on a
also,
few days to click early there.
yeah, and if the Steelers start calling, you know, 3 or 4 up,
Yeah,
what kind of an impact is that going to have? But yeah, if they get plenty of ice time, then yeah, I can see them being up there. MK, I know you're going to hate me say this, but you probably can't count them out still. I think they kept a reasonable core.
yeah,
Swindon have kept a reasonable core. Again, Peterborough have kept a pretty consistent core as well. So yeah, I definitely agree that it's going to be, I think,
I
the most competitive season.
really am. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes, and yeah, seeing sitting back, come the last game and how it all panned out. I think it's makings of being a good one.
Yeah, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if sort of we get to the final weekend and there is still a question mark in terms of who does win the league. I really could see it being that close this year. That was one tough question. This one's potentially even tougher. 11 teams into 8 playoff spots just doesn't go. Which 3 teams don't make the playoffs?
Raiders, Bristol, and Bees.
Raiders, Bristol, and B. Okay.
I just think Raiders are going to run out of their luck. And yeah, I mean, I'll stand corrected. I've had a look at both Bristol and Berkshire Bees, whatever they are now this season, and yeah, there's nothing there that I just don't think. I just think it'd be a struggle for those. And yeah, I mean, I've got nothing against those teams. Good luck to them all, but yeah, they're the ones for me. I think on paper at the moment, anyway.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. Bristol, yeah, I think sadly they're going to be finishing bottom.
Yeah,
Raiders, yeah, I think it seems to be quite a lot of change this season, sort of between the seasons. So yeah, I could see them struggling. They've lost sort of Connolly, and replacing his points
yeah,
is going to be a difficult task. In terms of, I guess, the third team that doesn't make it, probably most other teams that sort of didn't mention just a couple of moments ago, probably make a case for not making it. Yeah, bees are definitely one that you could see just missing out. For me, I think Solway and bees, it's sort of almost like a toss up between them. And for Solway, the difference really could be, hang on, you've got a top netminder in Jordan Marr. If he,
That's what tipped it for
pulls
me.
something out of the fire, yeah,
Yeah, that's what tipped it for me, and that's not just being precious over Marv or loving Marv. That was the tip for me between them dropping in and not. And I just think that they've still got an announcement. I think they're one of those teams. They've got a good back team and everything else, and I still think there's probably going to be a bit of a late notice from them. But I think that's the difference. Not to keep banging on about Mar, but I think that's going to be the difference for me for them falling in the drop zone.
Yeah, could definitely see that playing out. Mar stands on his head perhaps the final couple of weeks. They get a couple of wins that might not be expected, and yeah, that does tend to be sort of the difference for that final playoff spot. So be interesting to see how that one plays out. But much like at the top end of the league, I think it's going to be pretty competitive down at the bottom, particularly sort of for that 8th, 9th sort of spot in the league. So discussed the Phantoms. We've discussed the league. Obviously, it's a podcast about Telford Tigers primarily. So I'll always ask this kind of a question. Tigers roster is pretty much in place now.
Yeah.
Magic wand, you can take one player from the Tigers. Who's it going to be and why?
I'm torn between two. I love Vlad. Got a soft spot for.
I'll be kind and let you take two then this season. I might regret that.
Yeah, I've got a soft spot for Vlad. Let's forget his age. I like him. He scores good points for you guys. My daughter's got a soft spot for him. He signed her puck, like she called him the pucks he knocked in. And yeah, I like Vlad. I've always liked him. I think his points are great and he's got that presence, hasn't he? So yeah, let's forget his birthday and his numbers. I still think he's going to bring, 80, 90 points to you. He can still skate. He's got a good brain.
And he's just guaranteed goals. Well, when the re-signing was announced, that there was a little bit from subsection sort of about the age, but ultimately you don't replace 52 goals, which I think is what he got last season. You don't easily replace sort of 80, 90 points a season.
I think, he was 90, wasn't he, last season, I think, yeah.
91, I think, off the top of my head it was, just tipped over it, you just don't replace that easily.
I do like Rhodes, Mitchell King. I wish, we'd got him with brothers at Phantoms. I wish we had the pair of them. Is he a two-way with Belfast?
Yes. So Rhodes and Finn Howes are both two ways with Belfast Giants. So from a selfish point of view, hopefully Belfast don't make too much use of that because we'd be very happy to keep both of them for very large parts of the season. Yeah, no, it's just I think two different sides of the age scale there. But yeah, I do like Rhodes. I think he's a a good little player, and yeah, I'd happily see him in a Phantom shirt. Yeah. But as he's not going anywhere, I mean, of course, Austin, he played a season at Telford, and I'm sure he'll be very welcome back. So, okay, sounds good. Well, thanks very much for your time, Jay. Best of luck for the season. Obviously, excluding those few games when you do play the Tigers, but other than that, best of luck for the season. Thanks very much for your time. For everybody who's watched, thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully you've enjoyed hearing what Jay's had to say about the league and in particular the Peterborough Phantoms. And with any luck, bring some more episodes in which I speak with fans from either Peterborough or indeed other clubs across the league. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.